Good morning. We're going to get started. Hello, happy post Labor Day. I got here about 2 hours ago thinking I'll get set up. I'll remember everything from the previous settings, and for the last hour and 55 minutes, I'm trying to figure out how all this stuff is put together. I can't get the wireless mic to work. Janice has been kind enough to run from the front desk to here 15 times, letting me know whether things are operating or not. So I finally used another type of mic, and I'm so used to walking around the room, and now I'm constrained to this thing right here. So hopefully somebody on Zoom just put their thumb up that they can hear me. All right, thank you, James. Well, welcome. Hope everybody had a great, really good Labor Day weekend. I know Monday yesterday was just a day to die for, so hope everybody got some nice relaxing time in. So we have a number of things to talk about, two really big topics, which we'll get into a little bit later. Want to start out though with our core services, and I know between Dan and James, they were kind of scrambling around here. I know Dan is really busy with his brand new home. He was telling me all about his lack of sleep and exercise in his new home.
Actually, it's my existing.
So,
I'm not a painter.
here we go. So not only that, but now my slides won't move. Colleen, can you do me a favor? Could you see if Marion has another battery? I can't even get it to advance here at all. Technical difficulties. Try this again. We'll do the manual thing. Dan and James, I know James is on the call remotely. Dan is here. Dan, do you have a couple of things you want to say? And here, use the mic, please.
I feel like should be doing karaoke or something. Anyway, James was actually going to cover the meeting today, so I didn't have a whole lot I was prepared for, but I just wanted to give a quick update as far as appraisal turn times. We're still seeing all kinds of stuff out there as far as delays and turn times and whatnot. I'm not sure what some of you have experienced with other lenders. I'll tell you a little bit about Homesale. When we do an appraisal order, we always work off of a delivery date rather than an inspection date. We always request a 14-day delivery of the report. So the things that I'm, running into sometimes is, we get a commitment from the appraiser that they will get the report to us on a set date. And they're pretty much 99% efficient as far as that particular delivery date. But what we are seeing sometimes is 10 days will go by and the appraisal hasn't yet been scheduled. And I'll get an email sometimes from the buyer's agent or listing agent saying, hey, no one's contacted me about the appraisal. The way these appraisers work sometimes, because of the volume of business they have, is let's just say there's a property in Ephrata, I'll use for an example. They may have one or two other properties in Ephrata, but they're not going to make a trip to Ephrata from Lancaster 3 times. They will do all those inspections on a specific day, even though one of the reports may be due a day or two after that inspection date. So they're really kind of managing their pipeline of appraisals. And again, they've been very good about getting reports back to us on the said delivery dates. We are seeing sometimes the turn time's going as far out as 3 or 4 weeks. So obviously, when we're looking at trying to close a deal in 30 days, that makes it a little bit difficult if we're not getting a report back, 3 to 4 weeks out. Ironically, I just had one last week where from the time we ordered the appraisal to the time we got it back, it was 7 days. And that's the quickest I've seen any appraisal and probably as long as I can remember, let's put it that way. So again, it's just kind of all over the place. If there's any specific situation where obviously there's a crunch where we need to have a report back and close a loan in 30 days, let's talk about it a little bit up front. Honestly, we can't really request a rush, but we can be pretty firm on that delivery date if need be. Again, if you have any specific questions on any of this stuff, just talk to either James or myself. And that's all I had. Thanks.
Thanks. Appreciate it. I know Sarah is in a closing this morning. She couldn't join us. We'll see if this now works. There we go. So she's handling a closing with Bob Rose. And I don't know if James is joining us remotely. James, are you there? Okay, we'll go into this. I want everybody to know that Ann Pyle has retired. Many of you in this office have known Ann for years and years and years. I've actually been talking with Ann about this for about 6 to 9 months. She actually came to me and said, listen, I'm thinking about getting out of the business. The problem that you have as a real estate agent, as we all know, is the minute you go to unplug, that's when all what breaks loose. And that's what happened to Ann, is every time that she would want to hit the switch and move on, she had another longtime client get in touch with her and say, listen, can you do this for me? She finally really pulled the plug literally just a week or two ago. She's been in the business 42 years. And I thought I'd just mention a couple of highlights of what Ann and how she got to where she is today. She graduated from Westchester University with a BS in elementary education, then got her master's in psychology, which is pretty good for our industry, and reading. She then taught at Lower Merion High School, or in the school district, and then she became licensed in 1979. 1979. Let that sink in. Not too many people in this industry. I know I go from time to time to different functions, and occasionally the speaker will say, okay, who's been in the business for 20 years? And then you got all these hands go up. Who's been in the business for 30 years? And all these hands go down. And in many instances, I end up being the only one with my hand up. Mark might be. Mark, when did you get in the business?
85.
85?
Yeah.
So I got in 83. I got him by 2 years. There's a lot of us in this industry that are moving on. We're actually going to talk about this in one of the programs I'm going to talk about today. But when she got in the business, I want you to let this sink in. When she got into business, interest rates were popping around between 17 and 18%. Think about that when interest rates now go from 3 3/4 to 3 7/8, and everybody goes crazy. Think about what that was like way back in the day. Her husband, his name is John, and they have 7 grandkids, and 4 of them are in college right now in Division I sports. So Ann plans to do a lot of traveling in Rhode Island, Ohio, Virginia, and then throughout Pennsylvania. So, much kudos to Ann in her career. She's made lots of really good friends. I know many in this office know Ann. Some of you sat beside her, like Susan and Carol. So thanks, Ann. And I don't know if Ann is on the call. Ann, are you on the call? Okay. So if you see Ann, she'll probably pop by from time to time. Just say hi to her. I'm sure she's going to appreciate seeing everybody.
Tom, excuse me.
Mhm.
They're having trouble hearing you. They said speak directly into the mic.
Gotcha. Is this any better? So as most of you know, Ninja Selling occurred about a week and a half, 2 weeks ago. A couple people in this room actually attended that session. I was one of them the whole time. I know Colleen was there, Tammy was there, Julie was there. And I asked Colleen if she would take a moment or two just to tell us about her experience with Ninja. And Tammy, if you and Julie have anything to add, please do so. Thank you. Talk into the microphone.
Thanks, Tom. I feel really important. So good morning. And as far as Ninja goes, I had read the book. When we found out that it was going to be rolled out, I read the book and I did 2 book clubs on it. And I was so impressed by that book. I feel like every realtor, new, vet, retired, who's looking to give referral business should read this book. It is great for just life in general, relationships. It is by far the best real estate book as far as selling, but not really, because their whole basis is stop selling, start solving, which sounds cliche because everybody says, oh, I've got this new gimmick, do this, do that. In the book, it starts off with the first part is all about your mindset. And that's what we worked on the first day that we were there, just your mindset and gratitude and affirmations and how to use those for yourself and also in your business. And then you move on to the actual selling and the buyer process. I will say that I'm a huge Buffini fan. I should have started with that. I think Buffini is great. I love everything about it. I've done it since I started my business in real estate. And I think that this takes a lot of Buffini principles and it just kind of like on steroids and bumps it just to the best and the highest degree possible. I would recommend it to anybody. I feel like every single person that was in the room at the installation felt the same way. There wasn't one person that walked away. It was, I would say it was career changing being at that installation, mindset changing. And I would recommend to anybody to read the book and if an installation comes around again, to take advantage of it.
Tammy or Julie, you don't have to come up, but do you want to add anything? Liked it?
Yeah, I totally agree with Colleen. I thought it was awesome. Got a lot of great stuff.
Mm-hmm.
I think it is career changing, hopefully.
Yeah. Julie, anything to add?
Yeah, and I read the book too before going to the installation, and I did love the book, but I agree, going there and being hands-on and, you know, spending the whole week and you know, just putting it into your business and, you know, getting ideas, it was wonderful. So,
Yeah.
I would highly recommend it.
So, and I asked everybody to put their name on a piece of paper. Those of you that have not, please do so right away. Julie, you have the bowl there. Do you want to walk to, let's say, Donna? Donna, can you pick our first name, please? Make sure you get your name. Sorry for those on Zoom. Got to be live to do this one. Up front here. Go ahead, Donna. Or Rose is going to pick. So Donna Giovango picked her own name. Jen Switch. Jen, come on up. You have your choice of either book here. And you have 2 bookmarks that go with each book.
Take the Ninja one. Thank you.
Second one. There you go. Susan, you get the Go Giver book, which was also out of Ninja. This is a really short read. I read it, I don't know, in a morning. This is an unbelievable book. So congratulations. Yes. It's
awesome.
It's really good. So congratulations to those. And by the way, the reason why I'm mentioning this now, not only did we have a great time there and learned lots of things, But we will have more Ninja installations coming up in the future. So keep your eyes peeled for when we have additional installations. It's a 4-day commitment, no question about it. It is a commitment, but it is well worth your time. So let's talk about the age of real estate agents, as Mark and I are, and now Bob is moving out of the room. I saw this in the 2021 member profile that's put out by NAR. 50% of realtors are now older than 54 years of age. 50% of real estate agents. Okay, we have an aging profession. I fall into the upper category. So what happens to all those clients when an agent either relocates or retires? Okay, think about that. I mean, for those of you that aren't in this category, think about how much time you spend on your database and staying in touch with people.
Your life is changing. You're moving. You're retiring. You're looking for a new career. Your life goals are different, and that takes a lot of planning. The kind of planning that Dreambuilder was made for. Dreambuilder allows you to plan ahead and be ready to transition your book of business when real estate is no longer your main focus. Our leadership will help you navigate this shift and partner with an agent who can uphold the same level of service that you always provided. You'll leave knowing your clients are taken care of, but more importantly, so are you. With continued commission earning potential, you and your family will have the financial support you need for your next journey. Whatever your dream, Dreambuilder will build the way.
So we as a company have been working on this for how long, Colleen? A long time. I would say this is close to 1.5 to 2 years in the making. We as a company saw that original stat about an aging agent population, and we thought to ourselves, well, it's a shame that people get out of this business and then that's it. Unlike some other professions you can get in, you have your 401ks, which I'm not saying you don't, but you know, what happens to all those relationships that you build up over the years? Okay. We now have a program to address this. Now, I'm going to be giving you an overview of this program. This is not a training session. This is not a training session. So if you're going to ask questions, which is okay, but if it gets too deep into the weeds, I'm going to say, hold on to that and I'll see you after the meeting because I don't want to get bogged down here. I just want to give you an overview to let you know that something exists that you can get additional income after you have either relocated away from here or that you retire, okay? So you're probably going to be a referring agent in the future. If you are getting to the age where you're thinking about retiring, you say, I really want to walk away from this, but you know, I have this huge database, client base, and I don't know what to do with, and in many instances, it just goes to waste. So it ensures that clients are taken care of. You can turn your entire database over to somebody else. Now, when I say this, there are certain stipulations, and we've looked at this a lot of different ways. And the first thing I'm going to tell you is this. Take this the right way. You aren't turning your database over to your best friend in the business, because in many examples, they're the same age as you. And sometimes they don't even have a database and they're not used to working a client base. So we will help you as a company target an agent to turn your business over to. That's the first thing I'll say. You continue to maintain a revenue stream even after you get out of the business. And you can obviously enjoy the perks of retirement where you couldn't before. The receiving agent gets a brand new client database in addition to what they're already working with. And the referring agent's clients, they are cared for by a hand-picked agent by not only us, the company, but you. And by the way, we don't force anybody on you. We work with you hand in hand to get somebody that's going to work well with your clients as you head into the future. So what does this look like? Well, this is kind of a timeline. This doesn't happen overnight. And I'm not going to get into each one of these steps in great detail here, because you're going to have some information that you'll be able to see this for yourself. But this, once again, does not happen overnight. This is a process. The reason why it's a process is if I end up retiring in this business after X amount of years, my client database knows me. And if all of a sudden I just turn it over to Colleen, my client database has no idea who Colleen is. They don't know anything about her. So there's a period of time where we work together hand in hand to make sure that that database is migrated the proper way so that the clients continue to have trust in me and trust in the target agent that's coming up. We suggest, and you'll see right in the middle there, that there's a 90-day trial period, and that is a bare minimum. This ideally should take place over 6 months to a year, where if you're thinking about getting out of the business, you ought to be partnering with somebody so that both of you can work with that database and they get used to the referring and target agent. So this program exists. It exists right now. If you go into Team Homesale Center, and click on other resources, which is down here at the bottom, there will be a tile called Dreambuilder program that you'll be able to get into there. And there are tons of resources for you that you can look at. You know, there's agreements that are between people on this. There are stipulations as to what the referral fees are. As you might imagine, that in the very beginning, when the agent steps away from the business, the referral fees are much higher. And the longer you step away from the business, the referral fees go down, but there's still referral fees. So it is a little bit different than anybody else has there or has in the industry right now. I know there are some people that I've talked to in this industry that said when they got out of the business, they actually bought somebody's database. But once again, just buying somebody's database does nothing for the confidence of the people that are in that database, that they don't know this person at all. So just wanted to make you aware this program now exists. Both Colleen and I, we are familiar with the program. Obviously, it is just kicking off and it is just starting now. So we can sit down with you and talk with you about it in greater detail when the time comes. Okay. Any questions on this? Okay. Once again, go to Homesale Center, other resources, and you'll see that tab. So I'm going to take you back in time for those of you that were here when I first started this office. This was actually my very first sales meeting, June 25th in 2019. And I remember being in this room, not after the first one where I was introduced, and it was interesting trying to get to know everybody, but this was actually the first sales meeting that I had done, and Rod Messick was here. He wanted to make sure I wasn't screwing things up. I know that was the case. So Rod Messick was here. I remember him sitting right over here, and the topic of my sales meeting that day was iBuyers are knocking at our door. iBuyers are knocking at our door. And I remember, and that arrow points down in the lower left-hand portion, June 25th, 2019. And I did probably 2/3 of my meeting on iBuyers, not only iBuyers, but what you can do as an agent to set yourself apart from iBuyers. Okay, you've got to start adding more value or else iBuyers are going to take over. And a lot of people, whether you like iBuyers or not, they're here to stay. And we're going to talk about some information here where iBuyers are really a chunk of this business now. And whether you like it or not, they are here. Now, the reason why I bring this up, hopefully Rod's not on the Zoom call that he's listening to this, but at the end of this, Rod got up and spoke. He was once again making sure I wasn't going to screw things up here at North Point. And he said, he looked right at me because I sat over there. He looked right at me. He said, Tom, never going to happen in 2 years. Never going to happen in 2 years. He liked the topic in that I was sharing with people how to add value to your business. But he also said, I'll buy you a cold one if it happens in 2 years. Now, if you do the math here, this is 2 years and 3 months. But I got a caveat, COVID. This would have definitely happened prior to today if we weren't in the middle of COVID. So I'm going to try to collect from Rod. I'm sure that wasn't a footnote in this, but this just occurred this past week. One of these iBuyer entities is called OfferPad. They went public on September 3rd. They are valued at $2.7 billion with a B dollars. 2.7 billion. Okay. They were just purchased by Spencer Raskoff. Spencer used to be the CEO at Zillow. So there's some pretty big players in this business right now, and it's getting bigger and bigger as time goes on. And if you're reading all this stuff and you're saying, gosh, how are we going to compete with this? You compete a couple different ways. Number one, by you adding value to everything that you bring to the table. But this ought to be an option for you. And that's what we're here to talk about today. Once again, this is not a training session. I'm going to talk about training after this. And Colleen, could you do me a favor? They're both the same thing. They're just split evenly. Colleen is going to hand out or pass around some of the handouts that I'm going to reference in this talk here having to do with QuickBuy. QuickBuy, we are partnering, and forgive me, I don't have the name up here. Colleen, do you remember the name of the company that runs QuickBuy? I can't remember. Yeah, it's not important. But this company has been around for quite some time. And when I say quite some time, in the iBuying world since, I think, in the early 2000s. This is not intended, once again, to be a training session, but I'm going to give you a broad overview and hopefully get into some details that you're going to see as a practitioner in this business. You're going to see this could definitely fit into my plans as an agent. So here is a chart. This is nationwide of how iBuyers have grown. And if you see all the way in 2015, it started out with 33 homes, 33 homes. And it reached its peak right around the first quarter of 2020. And then COVID hit. That's my footnote for Rod. COVID hit and it plummeted because they couldn't do anything. iBuyers couldn't get out there and buy homes. Look what's happened since COVID. No, we're not through COVID totally, but look what has happened since we have started moving away from COVID. They are starting to heat up again. And it's only going to get better or worse depending upon your perspective. So in the old days, and when I say the old days, 2015, prior to iBuyers, you as an agent, when you were out there talking with sellers, you were the only boat in the ocean. You're out there throwing in your line and you're out there fishing for sellers and buyers, and that was Nice. Now you had other agents out there doing the same thing, but that was your competition. This is your competition today. You not only have your line that's in the ocean or in the water, you've got tons, and I say tons, of iBuyer buyers who are out there who are also throwing their line into the ocean, trying to get sellers and buyers to contact them. And by the way, they are doing it successfully. They're doing it very successfully. These are just some of the companies that are involved with this. You may not know all of them, but you at least recognize some of them. Zillow Offers is probably the one that everybody knows about. But I just mentioned a second ago, OfferPad. OfferPad has actually bought more homes than Zillow at this point in time. So these are spreading across the country. Now, let me go back to what I said when Rod said this will never happen in 2 years. The reason why Rod said this won't happen in 2 years is because Lancaster, where we are located geographically, we have homes in Lancaster County that were built in the 1700s, some in the 1800s. So there's a wide variety of homes versus where the iBuyer program started was Scottsdale, Arizona, other areas that basically had a listing inventory within the last 50 years. So all the homes were kind of the same. And that's why Rod said they could never do this in Lancaster County, at least not in the foreseeable future, because our inventory is so diverse. Well, these iBuyer programs have gotten really, really, really good. And by the way, if you know anything about artificial intelligence, this is the reason why this is moving at the speed of light now, because artificial intelligence, these AVMs, are getting better and better all the time. AVM is an automated valuation model. All right. So here's the price to pay if you don't get something like a program that we're bringing on board. This is what would happen right here. Zillow comes in here. They're going to buy the home. And by the way, if they don't have agents here, and if you aren't familiar with it, Zillow is now a brokerage. They hire their own agents. Now, they're not here yet, but they will hire agents. And when they don't have an agent in the area in which they buy a home, they're going to partner with you as somebody that's in their mind, a good agent. And oh, by the way, the referral fee is 35%. That's the price to pay if we don't go in this direction. So consumers right now are looking for something other than the traditional listing. And by the way, the vast majority of listings in the marketplace, even in Lancaster County, even in Scottsdale, Arizona, are going to be the traditional agent. We're talking about a segment of the population, and we'll talk about who they are. A segment of the population that basically says, I either can't do that or don't want to do the traditional listing. And we'll talk about who those people are. A lot of people want certainty and speed, and they want safety and convenience. Some of these things we can provide under the traditional listings, some we can't. This was a quote that was put out by 1000 Watt Consulting, which is a big consulting firm in the real estate industry. Recent studies show more than 77% of sellers want to view an immediate offer. Not accept, but view an immediate offer. Think about what that would be for you sitting at a seller's table, kitchen table, saying, we can go the traditional route. This is how long it would take. And by the way, we're all talking about a market where things are moving in 2 days. Think about when things will be on the market for 2 months, like some of us have experienced in the past, or in some cases, 2 years, okay? This is for those sellers that say, I don't want to go through this. I don't want to go through this. Let me see an offer, even if it's a little bit less, I'm willing to go that route because I don't want to go the traditional sale. So we've partnered with QuickBuy, and there are 3 different QuickBuy programs. One is a QuickBuy offer, basically where in 14 days, plus or minus, they will go into your client and hand them a check, cash, for their property. Okay. So this is how it works. And once again, I'm just doing broad overviews. They're going to present an immediate offer on a qualified home. And notice it says qualified home. I've had the opportunity to talk with 1 or 2 of you prior to this because I knew this program was coming down the line and you had certain instances that might have benefited from this. It's got to be a home that you can find comps on. It can't be I call it a one-off home, where it's a farmhouse with an attached car wash with, something with a chicken house next to the car wash. Pretty tough to find comps for that. It's got to be a property in Bel Air. There's 300 homes, 200 homes in Bel Air. Half of them are all bi-levels. You can go into Bel Air and find some pretty good comps, okay? That would qualify for a quick buy property. Close in 14 to 60 days. You bypass the decluttering, staging, and showings. Does that sound familiar to some of your sellers who say, I don't want to do this? You increase the buying power with contingency-free offer on a new home. How many of you over the last couple of weeks, over the last couple of months, have had a really, really good buyer? However, they have to sell their own home first, and you put that contingency into the agreement of sale, and what happens? It gets kicked out. It doesn't go anywhere. If you had this in place, you could avoid that. You could avoid it. So do I still earn a commission? As all the agents are waiting for this answer. Do you still earn a commission on quick buy programs? And the answer is yes. You earn full commissions, no referral fees. Let me say that again. Full commissions, no referral fees. Once QuickBuy purchases the house, you as the agent get a 1% commission advance when they buy the house. Now they could go in afterwards, they could do some touch-up painting, they could do some carpet cleaning, actually replace carpets. And guess what? When that house is ready to go back on the market, they use you as the agent that referred them into this program initially. So you will get a full resale commission, and I'll get into some numbers a little bit later on. You'll get a full resale commission. Let's say it's up here, okay, whatever that number is. And when that property settles, you'll get your commission less the 1% that you were advanced. So in other words, it's a full commission as far as you're concerned as the agent, okay? We have a quick buy lock, which is number 2, a quick buy lock. This is the person that wants to kind of test the market, put their toe in the water with you as a traditional agent, but they want some kind of guarantee in their back pocket that says, hey, if this house doesn't go, I know I can sell it to QuickBuy, okay? So you have a guaranteed sale. You list the home for up to 150 days with the certainty of an offer in your hand. QuickBuy offer can be accepted at any time within that 150-day period. There is a cost of this. It's a 1% lock that is payable at settlement. All right, that is payable by the consumer, the seller. But once again, they have the guarantee in their back pocket that, hey, if the house doesn't go on a traditional sale, I got something I can work with. Do I still earn a commission? Yes. You still earn a commission. If the home is purchased by QuickBuy, the commission payout is the same as the immediate offer program, which is what I just talked about, the exact same thing. And the 1% lock fee is due by the seller at closing, just for the guarantee of having it in their back pocket, okay? Then we have a QuickBuy lease program. Think about this in the market that we're in right now. You have an immediate home sale proceeds with the flexibility to move when ready. So you could actually sell your property to QuickBuy and stay in it for a period of time. Could you have used this? Seller can choose a short-term post-close possession of 5 days or stay in the home for 365 days or anything in between. Do you earn a commission? Yes, you earn a commission, okay? If the home is purchased by QuickBuy, the commission payout is the same as the immediate offer program. Works the same way. So who can use an iBuyer? Who wants to go the iBuyer route? I'm going to give you a couple scenarios here. See if any of these instances that I talk about here, you've dealt with a seller like this over the last year. All right. The family issues seller. These are couples that are going through a divorce, or you have multiple people involved with an estate who don't really care for each other. And you're all trying to work it out, and you're in the middle trying to hold the whole thing together. Wouldn't it be nice just to say, here's a check, walk away, okay? So this is the family issues seller. The relocated seller. These are sellers that are relocating, but really don't have a relocation package from their company. Lots of people fall into this category. And when I say relocated, they don't have to be relocating with the same job. They could be somebody that accepts a different job and just moving to a different part of the country or a different part of the state, okay? This is the relocated seller when leaving for a new job across the country. It's really difficult to focus on selling your home locally here. And by the way, in a lot of cases, you end up being the property manager, stopping by the property, making sure that the electricity is on, the frozen pipes aren't bursting all over the place. So you end up doing double work. The high-strung seller. We've all been this route where you list the property today, Tuesday morning, and the seller hasn't been in their house or won't be in their house for another 4 days because of showings back to back to back to back to back. And every time this happens, the parents turn to the kids and say, get in the van, we're going to go for a drive, or we're going to go grab a bite to eat. And they spend their time living in a van because they're tired of all these showings. The I'm building a new home seller. This is somebody who's building a new home, starting from scratch, and it's going to take 6 to 9 months to build. And they're trying to time the market perfectly by putting their home on the market and then moving into their new home. Have you dealt with anybody like this? And the I'm embarrassed by my house seller. This is the one you go out there and they're like, hey, we've lived here for 45 years, haven't done any upgrades at all. We love it, but we realize the house is too big. And God, if any of our friends went through our house right now, I'd be embarrassed as hell. And they don't want to put it on the market where all kinds of people are going through their home. They just want to move. All right. So Colleen and I have been through, I don't know, 2 or 3 different trainings on this. And I'll talk about Colleen in a second because she's doing some company-wide training. The company that works with us or has been working with us on this and getting this ready for us, basically has said to us that, you know, anywhere from like 5 to 8% of the sellers that you end up working with are candidates for this. If you put this option in front of them, they will snap it up because of one of these circumstances here. And there's other ones, but these are the ones that I could think of. That somebody says, just give me a check and I'm out of here. And it works for them. So it's not for everybody. We realize that ahead of time, but it is going to fill a niche. And by the way, unlike that Zillow sign that was in the front yard, where you got to pay a 35% referral fee, these are no referral fees, full commission to you as the agent. Right? So what is the process like? Now, I actually texted Colleen yesterday because I was putting this together and I said, Colleen, how much of this do you want me to get into? She said, just go for it. So even though she is doing much more in-depth training than this, I just thought I'd give you an overview. This isn't rocket science. All right. So first of all, you're going to have this in some of the handout material. I don't think I have it in the handout material that I gave to you now, but you're going to have it later on. These are QR codes to download the QuickBuy app. All right. So you'll have this either with Android or with your Apple iPhones. I've done it. I've actually been through the process. I'm going to show you some screenshots here. I've been through the process of doing this. It ain't complicated. It's pretty easy. And it took me all of about 45 seconds to register my home on here. So that's what the screen looks like. It basically, and by the way, after you've registered in the system, you're going to have to put in your name and what company you work for and your email address, that. But you only have to do that one time. Then when you open up the app in the future, this is the main screen that comes up. Basically, you're going to say, who's your prospect? Give me their cell phone number. Give me their email address. Describe their house. There's like 5 or 6 questions about the house. How many bedrooms? How many baths? What's the address? Does it have a garage? Is there a basement? I think you can answer these questions. Okay, not that difficult to do. You will get a response from them in 2 days, and many times less than 2 days. Now, it's not the quick buy offer. This is a range of value that it's going to get into. It's going to say, based upon what you're sharing with me, and by the way, QuickBuy has their own AVM also, automated valuation model, that they plug into this, and they come up with a value or a range that they say, this home is probably going to sell between this and this. So you, as the agent, you can go out to your client at the listing table and say, we can go with a traditional sale. I know, by the way, we have this quick buy thingy where we can give you a cash offer on your house. And based upon the preliminary information that I fed into our system, it's going to probably fall in this range. Now, having said that, this system relies on you, the agent, because if you walk into the house, let's say in Bel Air, if you walk into this Bel Air buy level and they haven't updated anything in 25 years, and they got 17 dogs, 5 cats, and it's not looking very good, you have the ability, and that's what QuickBuy is looking for. If they're giving you a range, what can you basically do? This is at the bottom of the range. However, if you walk into the same Bel Air buy level and they've updated everything, the kitchen's brand new, you know, the only reason why they're moving is they got a downside because the kids have moved away and, you know, they're tired of the steps and things like that. More than likely, you're going to be at the upper end of the value. Okay. So you can make some decisions on the fly. They are relying on you, the agent, the professional in the field. This is the email that you get. Now, I made this one up based upon the screenshot that was given to us, but you get this within 48 hours. And it basically says here, based upon this address, this is what the home likely is going to sell for. So the average, basically those are your fees. Now, these are just rough numbers that you can share with a seller. And by the way, at this stage of the game, please don't get into it with the seller saying, well, where does that $13,995 come from? Just let them know it's going to be less than a traditional sale. You'll get into it with greater detail if they want to pursue this, but you're just giving them an option at this point in time. There are some people that are going to say, this is fine. Go ahead with getting me a real offer on the house. This isn't the real offer. This is kind of like, we'll get you in the right ballpark. Okay. So step number 2 is to understand the seller's net. Also on that app, there's a spot that basically has all these numbers calculated. All you're doing is inputting 1 or 2 numbers and it'll spit out at the very bottom. This is what your bottom line is going to be, Mr. and Mrs. Seller. And you can share it with them. Step number 3 is the listing appointment. One of the documents that you have in the handouts is this document that you see right there. The front part deals with, hey, here are the 4 ways that you can go about selling your house. And here's the QuickBuy disclosure. The QuickBuy disclosure, it's on the back here. The QuickBuy disclosure needs to be signed. And by the way, whether you're using QuickBuy or not, you're going to find that part of the legal problem with this is that if we do not put this program in front of every potential seller, we run the risk, you guys guessed it, of a seller coming back to us saying, how come nobody told me about this? So this disclosure, whether you use the program or not, it's going to need to go in front of a seller at a listing at some point in time and saying, by the way, just want to let you know we have this program. Do you want to hear more about it? Yes. Do you want to hear less? You don't want to hear anything about it? Initial here. That's fine. So I get it. It's another disclosure form for you, but I think you're going to find that it's well worth it. Okay. By the way, you do have to talk in conjunction with this, the consumer notice, because you are now talking with people about what's going on with that property. All right. By the way, I don't know if anybody have their Maryland license in this room? You do. This program is good in Maryland also, just to let you know. Okay. Obviously, I don't think it's called a consumer notice in Maryland. It's called something different. Yeah. Yeah, but it's the same thing. It's the same type of thing. So if they initial this disclosure and say, hey, we'd like to know more about it, you go here. If they say, we don't care, we just want to go with you because we trust you as an agent, you'll get the job done for us, just have them initial and proceed with your normal listing. Okay. So how do you actually get the actual offer? This is also in Homesale Center. And if you go into Homesale Center and click on listings over here, one of the tiles is QuickBuy. All you go in there, fill out some information, get it off to QuickBuy, and they will send you and the seller a formal offer. And I believe it says there, if you 20, you as an agent, by the way, have to fill out their CMA form. You're going to have to fill out a CMA anyway, all right? Because they want to know from you, the agent, what you think this property is worth. AVM, which is what they have, but they're interested in what you are saying also. So step 5 is actually the QuickBuy offer. And all this stuff can happen in a very short period of time. This isn't weeks and weeks and weeks, right? You can go with the offer, the lock, or the lease. Either one of those based upon your specific circumstance. Okay. So once the offer is accepted, this is what happens. QuickBuy schedules the inspection and resolves repairs because they're going to want to hear from you. That's part of your CMA that you're going to say, hey, the home hasn't been painted in years. I would suggest that we paint this house interior wise. And they'll come up with a price for that. Home was then purchased by QuickBuy. It becomes an inventory property that's made ready to go back to you as the agent so you can collect the balance of your commission. Okay. Now, our referral and relocation division is going to be basically covering this. So you're going to be communicating with them during this entire transaction. They're going to be the ones that essentially oversee this. So you're going to go into their database and they will follow up, making sure all these things are done. Right. We had to have somebody run Pointe on this program. So they were the most likely source because of their follow-up methods. All right. So here's a commission calculation, a typical commission calculation. Once again, you plug it into the app. Initially, it comes back, hey, we think this home's between 290 and 310. 290 and 310. The agent's CMA and the QuickBuy purchase price comes in at 300. Seller's net after QuickBuy fees and closing costs, 246,757. Market ready repairs by QuickBuy, 2,170. That's based upon your recommendations once you get into the house. The agent receives 1% of the commission advance, and it's based upon this number here, not that number there. Okay, so it's based upon what QuickBuy is offering the people. All right, that's step one. Step two is the resale. So they've done all the repairs. Now they put it back on the market with you. All right. And they say, well, let's try it at 315. And by the way, you're going to be able to work with them on where you think this ought to be positioned in the marketplace. 315. It actually sells at 300,000. 6% commission on 300,000 is 18,000. The agent split. I had to pick out a figure here. I just said, suppose the agent's on a 65% split, paying a 6% franchise fee with the company. This is what the total commission would be for that agent. Since you were advanced the commission of 3,000, the balance would be this, which is your full commission. Make sense? So we also have marketing resources for you. These are already made. We have flyers. I think I have an example of a flyer there that you can take to open houses or, make as part of your marketing campaigns. There's also social media graphics that you can personalize to yourself. Here's one on the right-hand side that I got into to the links and just stuck my information in there. So I can put this on my social media accounts talking about QuickBuy and getting an immediate cash offer. And then there's training. So this is an overview. Colleen, with the overview that I just went through here, is there anything that I'm totally missing that you would bring up now versus getting into this?
I mean, you went over most of it.
Okay. All right.
The only thing I think that would be is if a lead comes from relocation.
Yes.
So if you bring the seller yourself, then there's no referral fees. However, if relocation reaches out like they do now, if they have a lead, then there is a referral fee back to relocation. Other than that.
Yeah. So for those of you who couldn't hear this on Zoom, all these numbers and everything I'm saying here is predicated on this is your client. If it's coming from a company lead source where the company gets in touch with you and says, hey, we got somebody in Ephrata that wants to sell their house, and there's a normal referral fee on that, that referral fee is in place. That has nothing to do with this program. But I don't want you to be under the impression that if it's run through any kind of company lead source, that there is no referral fee. This is if the client is yours from day one. Okay, thank you.
Other than that, Tom did a fabulous job.
You will see a flyer that has these in-person training dates and also the virtual agent training. Now, that flyer, while it will give you the dates, I will email out with the notes from this meeting, the actual flyer, which is a linkable flyer that you can click on some of the buttons on that flyer and you can register for it. You obviously can't click on that flyer and do the same thing. So you're going to need to do that because we want to know how many people are getting here. One of the other things that came up really early on in this is, let's suppose, let's suppose Brenda. Brenda is the type of individual that says, I'll never use this. This is crazy. I'm not going to get in this boat and go down. I want to be the traditional agent and I don't want to deal with iBuyers. And then Brenda gets out there in the field and Brenda puts this in front of people and Tammy, who is her client, says, well, this iBuyer option looks pretty interesting. Can you tell me more about it, Tam? Or can you tell me more about it, Brenda? For those of you on Zoom, you didn't see Brenda's face. In order to use this program, you have to go through the training. You can't just wing this, okay? So set aside some time, either virtually or in-person training to go through the training. We don't want people out there that are presenting this to their clients that are not going to do a good job of it. I'm not going to say everybody's going to be an expert at it, but at least you're going to have the main points, okay? So please register for training. Colleen is going to be here at North Point on September 20th and 23rd. I believe it, obviously in this room, correct? Okay. Gary Schlechtig is going to be in Reading, Berks, and Elizabethtown on some other dates. Obviously, virtual training, you can register for them also. Please register for this so that you can get out there in the field and start using it. By the way, if you one or two other things, if you have somebody right now who you have their property listed, it automatically disqualifies. Okay. This has to be brand new inventory. So you can't go back in this market that we're in and you've had a listing on the market for 9 months. You can't move this dog of a property and you say, hey, I want to put this into QuickBuy. It will not qualify. So it has to be a property that is brand new. Okay. What's that?
About a mobile home.
I don't think there's a problem as long as we can find comps. Would that be a true statement?
That's a good question. I haven't heard that one brought up yet. But as long as there's comps, and then they have their final review where they have to go through and make sure that it would fall into what they're looking for also. But I definitely will add it to my list and take it back and ask some good questions.
For those on Zoom, Julie asks, what about mobile homes? I believe as long as we can find comps, I could be wrong here. I don't believe they're going to do a QuickBuy on a property that's not on its own land. Okay, I believe it's probably going to need to be on its own land. Bob, go ahead.
When's this effective that we have to get this signed?
Yes.
We can go out in November?
Right. So Bob, who's sitting in the back of the room in the peanut gallery, says, when do we got to start getting this signed? I'd start getting it signed like right away. There's going to be obviously a transition period here. And if you, let's say Bob registers for training on September 23rd, but he's out this afternoon and he sees this seller who'd be perfect for this program. We'll work with you prior to your training on this to try to get it up to speed. But I'd start using this disclosure right away. It's in .loop right now. It's in .loop. Okay. All right. Any other questions on that? Okay. And finally, having only one option is not an option. Provide choices. Provide choices. I'll stick around after the meeting in case anybody has any questions. Colleen will also